Good morning, my beautiful friends. This is your wake up call with Maui Paul. I am Maui Paul. We are here today to say some nice things about ourselves. And good morning to everybody who is here. It's nice to see you, Jan and Lauren and Dan, and everybody else who is here but hasn't yet left a comment. Is wonderful to see you as well, even if you are just a number on my screen. But anyway, yeah, we're here to say some good stuff about us. Looks like Dan's coming in from Buford. Jan, I'm sure, is coming here from probably from your nest right here in paradise. And of course, Lauren, I guess you are on a cruise right now, so enjoy your amazing cruise. Indeed, we are here to say today to say some good stuff about us and to really reaffirm all the amazing things that are going on in our lives. Now, the fact is that sometimes I can get caught up in something short term that is affecting me negatively. And, it's interesting because if I focus on that thing, it expands. It expands to consume my entire consciousness. And when we instead choose to focus on these good things in our lives, then that also expands in our consciousness, and it definitely produces better outcomes. So let's have some fun today. Let's pull a card off the top of the deck. I'm going to ask you if you are the affirmation on the card, and we are going to respond out loud together. I am that affirmation. And as we do that, we are going to be essentially building into our own lives and reparenting ourselves and teaching ourselves what is good and right and honest and true. So, good morning, Silk. Nice to see that you've arrived today. Let's have some fun. Let's pull a card and say that today I am charitable. I am charitable. I share from an abundance of heart. So I am charitable. I share from an abundance of heart. Are you charitable? You are charitable. You share from an abundance of heart. And I'm going to write that down in the comments that I am charitable, that I share from an abundance of heart. Good morning, Maya. Nice to see that you are here today. Indeed, we are charitable people. We share from an abundance of heart. We can only give from our excess. We can't, if we give of ourselves, we will get burned out. And I don't know about you, but I've run into lots and lots of people who are doing various forms of do-goodiness in this world, various types of charity. And I found that the people who were very successful at it were the people who were giving from their excess, who took care of their own business first. And then from the excess of that business, they decided that they were going to help somebody else or help some other cause or in some way do good in the world with their excess. Good morning, Shauna. Nice to see you here this morning. And so as we go through our lives today, we are going to have places where we have an abundance. It's just the way it is. We're going to produce too much of something. And when that happens, we have the ability to give to others. And whether that be physical stuff, whether that be just some of our time, whether that be some of our attention, the fact is that we are going to have an abundance of something today. And that with that abundance comes a responsibility to do something with it, to make sure that we pass it along, to make sure that we're not hoarding that abundance that we have, but rather that we are letting other people also have also have some of what we have enough of. So we are charitable. We share from an abundance of heart. In the same way that I've watched people who do charity very successfully give from their excess, I've also watched people do it unsuccessfully. I've watched people with really good hearts, with really good intentions, get burned out because they were sharing not from their abundance, but from their lack. They were sharing they were sharing the only thing that they had. And while that seems like a noble thing, long-term successful, because they gave away the small amount that they had to give away, and then they had to have other people support them because they had given away even what they had to eat with. And so as we go through our day, let's realize that everybody around us is fighting a battle that we know nothing about, and that they have needs that we perhaps are able to meet. And sometimes we can meet that need with nothing more than a smile, nothing more than being nice to them, nothing more than just hanging out with them and being there with them. That is a form of charity. Caring about other people is a way that we can share. And how could we share except through an abundance of heart, except through an abundance of caring, an abundance of empathy for others, an abundance of sympathy for what's going on in their world? And you know how we really generate these sorts of abundance? That primarily we do that from from understanding our own pain, from going through our own our own situations where we really could use the charity of others. I know that I have gotten to appreciate other people's pain a lot more after having gone through it myself. And so the fact is that as we share from an abundance of heart, we understand that an integral part of developing that abundance of heart is going through life ourselves and just having our own life experience. So I am charitable today. You are charitable too, and we share from an abundance of heart. So this card is our permission slip today to open our eyes to the needs of the people around us, to love them the way that they need to be loved, and also to recognize that if we do choose to give of our time, of our emotional energy, of our resources, whatever those look like, that it's very important for us to give from a place of having something to give. It's very important for us to give from a place of our excess, to give from our saucer and not from our cup. And as we do that, we find that our charity is effective because there is nothing that will burn somebody out so quickly as ineffective charity, as when we do something for somebody and they don't appreciate it, or they resent us for it. I have seen many, many times where people who receive somebody else's largesse unasked for will tend to reject that. They will be unwilling to receive it, or they will receive it but grudgingly. They'll receive it thinking, oh, there must be some kind of some string attached to it, and in the end, it ends up being a bad thing for the giver and the receiver alike because it does nothing but create bitterness. So as we share, let's make sure that we are sharing joyfully. Let's make sure we're sharing from an abundance of heart. I had a conversation with somebody many, many years ago, and she was talking about how she worked at this, she volunteered at this food kitchen, and how this food kitchen was essentially stocked by very wealthy people, and that this food kitchen was stocked the way that these very wealthy people liked to eat. And so consequently, it had kind of very fancy foods. Well, of course, the homeless folks who were typically frequented this food bank were not interested in these fancy foods. And so they would cook up all these wonderful, quinoa salads and things like that for these folks who would immediately scrape them right off the plate and throw them into the trash can. Well, the fact is that this person that I was talking with said I couldn't, I felt so bad because I saw that this was not effective giving. The people were spending extra money to provide these other folks with fancy food, and the folks who were being provided with the fancy food thought it was disgusting and threw it right in the trash can, and would only eat the most basic stuff. Would eat the side of macaroni and cheese, but would not eat the but would not eat the chips and salsa, or the quinoa salad, or the kale that had been prepared for them that cost more money than the macaroni and cheese did. And so, and she said, I had to stop working there because it was making me bitter and resentful toward the people that we were serving. And she's like, and I realized if I couldn't give with a happy heart, if I couldn't give with the knowledge that they were going to throw it away and be okay with that, she said, I had to get out of there. I had to give some other way. So as we are charitable today, let's just realize that that the charity that we are capable of providing for other people has the power to help them or hurt them. It also has the power to hurt or help us. And so when we share from an abundance of heart, when we share, not caring if our gift is cherished or scorned, then that in itself is a gift that we give to ourselves and to the people around us. So we are charitable. We share from an abundance of heart. So let's do that today. Let's see where we have an abundance and share that abundance freely, not caring whether that abundance is honored or scorned by the people around us, not caring whether how it is received, but understanding that the joy is in the giving, and that we ourselves have been in both positions. We ourselves have had to be the recipients of other people's charity at some point in life. There have been some time that somebody has done something for us that we could not do for ourselves that we really needed. I remember that I had a car break down in the middle of nowhere in New Mexico. I'm talking like 50 miles from anything that resembled civilization. And I recall that I was nursing my car back home, and the it was basically the fan belt had fallen off the car, and the alternator wasn't working. And so I was working with a limited amount of electricity, and I was working with a limited amount of ability to create heat. And this was a little sports car, so it was a manual. So what I would do is I would drive the car up to the top of a hill, and as it was going up to the top of the hill, it would start to get hot because it didn't have a radiator or a fan. And this was before cell phones, or certainly before cell phone service out in that area. And then when I got to the top of the hill, I'd turn the car off, and I would coast all the way down to the bottom and help the engine cool off a little bit while the car was off. And then when I got close to the top of the hill, I'd put it in gear and I'd pop the clutch so I wouldn't have to turn the car on with the engine, and or with the starter motor, so I'd preserve my electricity, and I'd go up to the top of the next hill. And I remember I did this for a while. Well, I must have been driving really suspicious looking because a state trooper pulled me over, which was not hard to do because I was already in the breakdown lane going about 35 miles an hour. And he pulled me over, and I said, "Hey, this is what's happening. The belt fell off, and so this is what I'm doing. I've got a license, I've got registration, I got proof of insurance, I'm legally driving. I'm trying to nurse this thing back home." This state trooper decided that he was going to be an absolute jerk, and he had nothing to ticket me for. But I said, "Listen, are you willing to, call me a tow truck or just push me to the top of that hill with your buddy bumper? Because I know you got a bumper on the front of that cop car." He's like, "Nope, that's okay." And he left me on the side of the road and went to go find somebody else that he could write a ticket for because it wasn't me. And I mean, I remember that experience was one where I was like, wow, here comes somebody who is responsible to protect and serve, but unfortunately didn't do that for me that day. And I eventually I nursed the car back, and I was kind of angry about it. I was like, this guy could have just called me a tow truck on his radio. I could afford a tow truck, but he didn't. And I remember that I had eventually nursed it back home, and I got into this Home Depot parking lot, and I knew how to fix the car. I just needed to buy some tools. I went to the Home Depot. I bought some tools to go and fix the car. Home Depot was closing, so I had to make sure that I got in and out of there. And I'm sitting in the parking lot, and I'm fixing my car, and this guy comes up to me, and he's like, "Hey, can I help you?" I said, "My alternator belt fell off, and so I don't have an alternator, I don't have a fan, and I need to get this thing home, and so I'm just jury rigging it so it'll work." And this guy spent an hour and a half with me in the parking lot fixing my car with me. He wouldn't accept money. He wouldn't accept a meal. He wouldn't accept anything. He's like, I've been in this situation before, and it sucks. And so I'm just gonna help you." And so, I mean, I remember the fix that he did on that car. That fix lasted until I sold that car. I never fixed it better than that because it was already done. And that story reminds me always that there was somebody who was in a position to help and didn't help. And then there was another person who really wasn't in a position to help but did. And how, what one of these helps is the kind of help that helping is all about. One of these people just created consternation in me because they had the authority and the ability to do something, and they chose not to. Whereas the other person had no right, had no obligation to me whatsoever, and they chose to help me. And in the same day and at the same time, and back to back to each other. And what a powerful lesson that was for me in how we give and how we receive. So I am charitable today, and I share from an abundance of heart. And the abundance of heart that I share from is born from the actions of that guy in the Home Depot parking lot, who I don't know his name, I don't know anything about him, but I feel like he was sent there, from divine forces to help me, to assist me in doing something and accomplishing something that I probably couldn't have accomplished myself. And that the other interaction that I had previously, that interaction served to frame the second one. I don't judge that police officer for behaving the way that he did. But I recognize that part of the story was something that allowed me to appreciate what happened in the Home Depot parking lot about 2 hours later, as I finally got my very tired car over there, reasonably close to home, and certainly close enough that I could manifest some change on my own. So I am charitable today, and the charity that I'm able to give to other people is born of the situations which have happened to me. And so I share from an abundance of heart. And I know that you do as well. I know that you've had stories very similar to mine. You've had times when you needed some help and somebody else refused to accept anything in exchange for it. Somebody else was able to provide something for you that you were unable to provide for yourself in some moment, and that they just did it because of the character that they have. So we are charitable people. We share from an abundance of heart. My friends, my beautiful friends, I'll be back tomorrow with yet another wake up call. Until then, I see there's been a lot of comments. So, good morning to everybody who has come here today. Jan says, yes, she is in my nest. Called it. Let's see. Let's say Silk has arrived here today. Good morning, Silk. Good morning, Maya. Who else has come through? I know Shauna has come through. Good morning, Shauna. Shauna says, Janet, thank you for being here for me when she broke that cup yesterday. Aw, sorry you broke a cup, Shauna, but it does happen sometimes. Let's see here. And Jan says she was there as a reminder to be kind, for Shauna to be kind to herself. I'll be kind to you too, Shauna. It's okay when we break cups. It happens. Sometimes we drop stuff, and it's not about focusing on the broken cup. It's about recognizing that we have the ability to fix it, and also the ability to have many more cups in our lives. Good morning, Teresa. Nice to see you here, and thank you for the compliments on my story, Dan. I have lots of these. I think that most of the life lessons that come out of these cards come from something that happened in my world, and it's just a matter of paying attention to it. And like the stories that I told, I don't judge any of the players in those stories. I recognize that every one of them played their role, and because of that, they have ultimately helped me to become a more empathetic person, to become a more charitable person, and to recognize that the abundance that I have the ability to share is an abundance that nobody else could share. And that the places that I'm overflowing, the places that my cup is overflowing, is a place where other people's cups are not. And so I have the ability, the unique ability to really manifest change in that way. And so do you. You also have a place where you have an abundance, and just recognize that when your abundance meets somebody else's lack or somebody else's want, then that's where effective giving can happen. And so we are charitable people, and let's use our new knowledge, this reminder that we have today, in order to be charitable to others. All right, my friends, I will talk to you guys tomorrow at 9 a.m. Until then, thank you so much for attending the wake up call. I love you. I appreciate you. I think you're amazing. And I'll talk to you tomorrow at 9 a.m. Until then, thank you to everybody who shares this broadcast, who comments, and who just basically tells the algorithm that this is something or a message worth sharing. Until then, aloha from paradise.